One aspect of my life I spend almost no time thinking about whatsoever is my half Koreanness. I'm not one of those people who tries to find friends who look like me. I don't try to befriend people just because they're also half Asian or half Korean. I don't seek out meetups for Asian American people so that I can go there and find people who identify with my life experiences. I just don't care about that stuff. I've had people reach out to me to come on a podcast to talk to their Asian American audience about life as an Asian American male, and I just don't care. I don't care to do it. And honestly, I find people that focus that much on their race to be pretty annoying and in general just not very successful. So I don't want to be a part of it whatsoever. I spend about as much time thinking about my race as I do thinking about how the earth is round. In that I never think about it until somebody says the earth is flat, and then you're like, oh my God. Then you have to think about the earth being round. So I just don't think about it. But lately I've started to notice this emotion building up inside of me that has really helped me relate to and identify with white nationalism, surprisingly enough. And for me, all of this stems from blaming people who have absolutely no reason whatsoever to be blamed. Attributing collective guilt through privilege. And this may seem weird for somebody like me, because if I walk around the average street in America, most people don't perceive me as white. They know I'm mixed. They know something else is in me. But there's this new unspoken form of privilege that liberals haven't really said out loud that's known as Asian privilege. And I say unspoken because progressives like to beat around the bush with this. They don't want to say it out loud. They don't address it directly. Instead, they imply it through new terms like underrepresented minority, as if the word minority wasn't descriptive enough. I mean, if we think about the definition of minority, it's a small group of people within a community or country differing from the main population in race, religion, language, or political persuasion. So they added another word in front of that, underrepresented, to further distinguish minorities, which is already descriptive enough. This is most common within tech, but it also has its place within higher education as well. And the reason for this is pretty obvious, and it's that Asians are pretty much kicking ass. I mean, they've reached parity with whites in a lot of cases, if not exceed whites in certain measures. And the hilarious part about this all is that if you were to say that systemic racism is a thing, it seems Asians are the victims of it. They don't qualify for affirmative action, even though they're a minority. In certain cases, they have to get higher SAT scores than the average person in order to get into college. And within tech, they don't qualify for diversity and inclusion scholarships, because those are only for underrepresented minorities. They've literally discriminated against minorities to exclude the one minority that's doing well. It's one thing to have a genuine end with a means to that end that I disagree with. But this type of preferential treatment for underrepresented minorities so transparently discriminates against the one minority that goes against their narrative that I have no choice but to disagree with them. It's a politically motivated initiative that ignores the root cause of any sort of racial disparity. That emotion I was talking about earlier that was building up inside me, this is when I get to the point of frustration where I almost want to go out and find every other Asian and half Asian and say, you know what, fuck this. Let's kick ass in school. Let's get good grades. Let's get good jobs. Get paid more than them without affirmative action, without diversity and inclusion scholarships. Let's beat them when they're given every single opportunity. Let's show them that the only person holding them back is themselves. But blaming everything on race creates resentment because blame is being put onto others when there's no reason for it. And this type of name calling, where you're calling people alt-right and Nazis when these people might just be slightly right of center, does nothing but help them perceive more blame. I mean, the other day I saw a black female tech CEO call Ben Shapiro, a Jew, a Nazi. It creates resentment towards the group attributing blame in the same way that they're attributing blame to a collective group. It creates a counter to identity politics, which most commonly today is white nationalism. And as protests and demonstrations get more violent, it worries me what the outcome may be because the right is more organized, and as we know, they have all the guns.